Working at heights. Fall arrest device is a device approved by the engineer, in consultation with the fatal risk champion, provided for arresting a person in the event that such person falls from any elevated work platform exceeding 2 meters in height, or into any opening that exceeds 2 meters in depth. This device shall comply with relevant SAPS and/or ISO standards. Logbook refers to any book provided for the purpose of recording the results of inspections. Working at heights hazards. Hazards you may encounter whilst working at heights: material handling, back strain, slip and fall, health hazards, ergonomics, electricity, hazardous chemicals and substances, moving parts of machinery, noise. Working at height requirements. No person shall allow or permit any person suffering from acrophobia, the fear of heights, to work in an elevated position. Every person working in an area or position higher than 2 meters from ground or floor level without a proper platform or footing must be secured by means of a safety harness anchored to a fixed structure. All anchor points shall be such that the attachment is made at an elevation to ensure that fall arrest occurs before hitting the lower elevation. Positions for anchor points shall be subject to a risk assessment and must be capable of withstanding at least 15 kilonewtons. Fall arrest equipment and anchor points and temporary anchor points shall be designed and/or approved by a competent engineer in consultation with the fatal risk champion for working at heights. Anchor points shall be such that they are of the correct strength to be able to absorb shock loading and suspend the load during fall arrest. Fixed lanyards and anchor point load-bearing capacity shall be matched to the number of people that must be attached thereto, and shall be approved by the engineer in consultation with the fatal risk champion for working at heights. Where personnel are required to work within 2 meters of an opening or edge where they could fall, they shall use personal fall restraint equipment which will prevent them from falling to a lower elevation. Where there is potential to fall more than 2 meters, personnel shall wear appropriate fall arrest equipment. In such circumstances, a BEXA-approved full body harness shall be worn. All forms of portable and movable elevated work platforms and suspended work cages shall conform to OEM standards and specifications. All personnel shall wear appropriate fall restraint equipment when working in an elevated work platform that is above 2 meters. Fall arrest equipment is not required when working for a properly constructed and certified scaffold with the requisite handrails and toe boards. Fall arrest equipment is not required when working from a properly constructed and certified scaffold underground at any time due to the possibility of roof falls. Training shall be carried out for the correct wearing and use of personal fall arrest and restraint equipment, and must include training on use of anchor points and safe attachment of fixed lanyard to anchor points. There shall be a work permit or permission system in place to control all working at heights tasks, and where bosun's chairs, elevated platforms and scaffolding are used. A documented risk assessment shall be conducted before the commencement of work, and at any time the scope of work changes or the risk of fall increases, as per risk assessment checklist. Where the work method requires detaching and reattaching at height, when 3-point contact cannot be maintained, a dual lanyard system shall be utilized to ensure that at least one connection point is maintained at all times. Where the use of personal fall equipment is required, a person shall not work alone. There shall be other personnel who can raise the alarm immediately should a person fall. Barricading and warning signage should be placed on all lower levels where personnel or objects may fall. Personnel operating elevated work platforms and cages shall be trained and certified for the equipment they are using. Establishment of drop zone. When overhead work is to be performed and there is a risk of equipment, materials or tools falling from the elevated position, then a drop zone must be established below the elevated position. The location of the overhead work shall be assessed, and the extent of the drop zone below is to be determined with respect to the height of the work above the lower level and the possible deflection of falling objects. The drop zone may need to be cleared of all personnel. Orange netting, surface, and yellow netting, underground, needs to be erected so as to completely surround the drop zone, with on each side a sign displaying "Caution, overhead work keep clear." Ladders. Use of ladders. Only ladders approved by the appointed engineer in consultation with the fatal risk champion for working at heights shall be used. All ladders shall be numbered, logged, and inspected on a monthly basis. The relevant supervisor shall ensure every ladder is of sound construction and is suitable for the purpose of which it is used, and no person shall use a ladder or permit it to be used if it is deflective in any way. Ladders is fitted with non-skid devices at the bottom ends and hooks or similar devices at the upper ends. The reach of a ladder to be extended by fastening together 2 or more ladders. This shall apply to extension of free-standing ladders. No person may permit a ladder which is required to be leaned against an object for support to be used which is longer than 9 meters. Portable ladders are not to be used on working platforms to gain height above the protected edge. Glass fiber ladders should be inspected, cleaned and sprayed lightly with a clear or pigmented liquid or paste and waxed as described by the supplier manual. No wooden ladders are used. No aluminium ladders may be permitted for use underground. A pre-use checklist must be done before using a ladder. Aluminium or steel ladders should be inspected for rough burrs and sharp edges, loose joints and bolts, insecure welds and cracks. When work is done from a ladder, the relevant worker shall take special precautionary measures to prevent articles from falling off. A person ascending or descending a ladder is not to carry any item of equipment or tools unless in a strapped bag. Any other equipment and tools shall be hauled up only after secured by a fall prevention system. Fall restraint equipment like a full body harness must be used when working at an elevation of 2 meters or higher. Provide suitable sheaths or receptacles in which hand tools shall be kept when not being used. Fall restraint equipment anchor points shall be such that they are of the correct strength to be able to absorb shock loading and suspended load during fall arrest. Single and extension portable ladders are to be secured against movement and supported from a firm, level, non-slip surface. Be pitched at a slope of not less than an angle of 1 horizontal to 4 vertical, or more than an angle of 1 horizontal to 6 vertical. Extend 1 meter above the surface where a person can gain access. When a single or extension ladder is used against a wall or flat surface where it is not possible to secure the ladder, an assistant shall foot the ladder at all times. Where a series of ladders are used to gain access to an elevated surface, landing platforms shall be provided at every 10-meter interval. Fixed ladders and stairways. A fixed ladder which exceeds 5 meters in length and is attached to a vertical structure with an inclination to the horizontal level of 75 degrees or more shall be provided with a cage which extends from a point not exceeding 2 meters from the lower level to a height of at least 900 mm above the top level served by the ladder, and shall afford firm support along its whole length for the lack of the person climbing the ladder, and for which purpose no part of the cage shall be more than 700 mm away from the level of the rungs. Mobile machinery. Lift boxes or bosun's chairs that consist of a platform surrounded by an edge protection system are designed to be lifted and suspended from a crane or lifted by an LHD. The appointed engineer shall be informed before persons are lifted in a bosun's chair or lift box, and a permit to work at heights shall be in place. Crane operators shall be authorized by the appointed engineer in writing to lift personnel in a bosun's chair or lift box. Before using the lift box, the crane's hoist brakes shall be inspected and tested by a competent person appointed by the engineer. If any defect in the equipment is noted, the responsible engineer or supervisor shall be notified. The crane and lifting equipment shall be thoroughly inspected prior to use by a competent person appointed by the engineer, and it shall have a valid test certificate from an approved testing authority where applicable. No work shall be carried out during rain, thunder, lightning and/or heavy wind. The maximum permitted load of persons and equipment shall be displayed on the load box. This max allowable load shall not be exceeded. Each person in the bosun's chair and lift box shall wear a safety harness and a restraining device that is attached to the safety sling or anchor points. Where a crane is used, the safety sling shall be secured to the hoist rope lifting hook in a figure of 8. In case of doubt, the appointed engineer shall be consulted before any person is lifted. Bosun's chairs shall only be lifted by a mobile crane. No HIAB or overhead crane shall be used to suspend a bosun's chair. The following records shall be kept: approved drawings of bosun's chairs and load boxes, competent and appointed person to inspect bosun's chair or load box before use, training records on use of full restraint equipment, working at height permit, risk assessment checklist for working at heights, full restraint equipment, 6 monthly inspections by competent persons, training records on use of full restraint equipment, mobile machinery. When working on mobile machinery that does not afford adequate protection from falling 2 meters or more, a full body harness shall be worn. The full body harness shall be connected to the machine such that it is capable of withstanding at least 15 kilonewtons. If there is no such an anchor point available, then an approved anchor point shall be welded in a practical position to which the harness can be attached. If the lug or anchor point of the harness is on foot level and not above the head, which is ideal, cognizance shall be taken of the length of the lanyard of the harness to prevent a person falling too far before restraint takes place. Monitoring and testing. The respective supervisor shall conduct a monthly inspection for the safe condition of ladders, scaffolds, elevated platforms, bosun's chairs, and stairways in his area of responsibility. The supervisor shall ensure that the operator performs the necessary pre-use checks in accordance with standards. Load testing of the equipment will be performed by an SANS-EN accredited manufacturer or supplier, and results recorded and kept on file with the test certificates. The responsible engineer shall periodically inspect equipment and countersign logbooks. The responsible engineer shall ensure that proper action and follow-up is taken on any deviations recorded. People requirements. Kutala shall conduct a process to ensure selected personnel to work from heights are physically and psychologically suitable for work at height. Specific consideration shall be given to personnel who suffer medical conditions such as vertigo, acrophobia, and epilepsy, as well as considering the weight of the persons using the harness. Note: many harness systems have a maximum weight limit of 136 kilograms, 300 pounds. The weight limit for people doing working at heights at Kutala is 120 kilograms, 264 pounds. A competency-based training program for employees and supervisors shall be in place, which includes provisions for maintaining competence. All persons engaged in work covered by this protocol shall be adequately trained and assessed for competency by an accredited training provider. All personnel need to do refresher training on his or her highest working at heights qualification every 3 years. Scaffolding and platforms. Elevating work platforms. Elevated work platform that consists of a platform surrounded by an edge protection system, MEWP, mobile elevated work platform. All personnel operating an elevated work platform must be trained, found competent, and authorized in writing by the appointed engineer to operate such platform. Persons using a MEWP shall use a fall arrest or prevention system and not leave the confines of the platform edge protection. The machine may not be used in strong winds exceeding 12.5 meters per second or 25 kilometers per hour. No work may commence in the direct vicinity of within 15 meters of overhead power lines unless the lines are isolated, locked out, tested, and earthed, or the work is being done under direct supervision of a level G supervisor. The MEWP must not be used as a crane or hoist for transporting of material or as a jack. Care must be taken to prevent collision with objects that enter the skyjack's operating area. Care must be taken to prevent collision between obstructions in the platform and also to prevent the operator from being trapped or injured. No person will work or travel through underneath the platform of the skyjack MEWP. Clear visible barricading needs to be in place to prevent inadvertent access or collision with objects that enter the MEWP's operating area. The operator is responsible to ensure that all wheel chocks are in place, outriggers are correctly and safely placed, the pre-operating safety check is done, and approved safety and rescue equipment is fitted. The MEWP Skyjack shall be fitted with a lockout facility, which shall be locked at all times when not being used. A full body harness and fall arresting device system shall be used by persons working at heights when they are working out of a lift box or bosun's chair or similar, they are working outside the guard railing, or in an area where there is no railing, for example a roof on beams, etc. No person shall wear a harness or any other fall arresting device unless they have been trained. Suspension trauma. Suspension trauma is a condition caused by orthostatic incompetence or intolerance, for example following a fall, whereby a person suspended in a harness in a substantially upright position may experience blood pooling in the legs. Depending on the susceptibility of the individual, this may lead to loss of consciousness, renal failure, and eventually death. Although safety harnesses may save many lives and injuries, continual vigilance is needed to train and supervise workers to ensure harnesses are used safely. Workers and emergency response personnel must be trained to recognize risk of suspension trauma after a fall suspension. If the worker is suspended upright, emergency measures must be taken to remove the worker from suspension or move the fallen worker into a horizontal posture, or at least to a sitting position. All personnel should be trained that suspension in an upright position for longer than 5 minutes can be fatal. Rescuers must be aware that post-rescue death may occur if victims are moved to a horizontal position too rapidly. The post-rescue death is apparently caused by the heart's inability to tolerate the abrupt increase in blood flow to the heart after removal from the harness. Once a fall has been arrested, the fall protection system has successfully completed its job. Workers shall be trained to try to move their legs in the harness and try to push against any footholds. Workers hanging in a harness should try to get their legs as high as possible and their heads as close to the horizontal as possible. This is nearly impossible with many commercial harnesses in use today. Rescue. Rescue must come rapidly to minimize the dangers of suspension trauma. The circumstances, together with the lanyard attachment point, will determine the possibility of self-rescue. In situations where self-rescue is not possible, workers must be supervised at all times, regardless of whether a worker can self-rescue or must rely upon others. Time is of the essence because a worker may lose consciousness in only a few minutes. Current recommended procedures are to take from 30 to 40 minutes to move the victim from kneeling to a sitting to a supine position. Erection of scaffolding. Areas where scaffolding is being erected or dismantled are to be properly barricaded off to protect fellow employees and the public. Scaffold standards should be properly propped against displacement and be secured vertically on sole boards of 225mm by 32mm. Structures to be securely and effectively braced in all directions. Scaffolding is to be constructed that convenient and safe access is provided to every platform. From 2 meters upwards, ladders to be mounted internally through access openings in the working platforms, fitted with trapdoors with handles. All platforms shall be fitted with substantial guardrails at a height of 450mm for the mid-rail and 900mm for the top rail, as well as toe boards at least 150mm high on all sides of the platform, except against the equipment to be worked on, so affixed that no open space exists between board and platform. Scaffold board, which forms part of a scaffold platform, is to be supported at distances not exceeding 1.25 meters, and its ends project not less than 70mm and not more than 200mm beyond the last prop. Platforms are to be so constructed as to prevent materials and tools falling through openings and gaps. Approval of scaffolding. The green scaffolding label indicating safe to use must bear the following information: erecting company name, scaffold erector's name, specific location, scaffold identification number, approved by, date erected or approved. Personnel who are engaged in the erection or dismantling of a scaffold structure at a height of 2 meters shall use a full body harness and a shock absorbing lanyard. Dismantling of scaffolding structures approved by the engineer must always be under the supervision of a qualified scaffold erector. Dismantling will take place level by level from the top. Scaffolding material should always be inspected after dismantling, and damaged components disposed of or repaired.